what your business should be is a constant evolution, constantly trying new things so you don't build up decades of baggage underneath you that you now painfully have to shed.
From Toronto, PHANTA Media presents the Not So Corporate Podcast. Hello. How you doing? My name is Mark. I am the host of the Not So Corporate Podcast. I'm joined here in studio with Leah Earle.
Hello.
And joining us shortly will be Roland H. Avaria.
Oh, here he is.
What's up? No! What was it? Wisconsin!
I don't know what you're talking
He
about.
said lasagna first, I think. Me and Roland are in a competition right now to see who has the bigger water bottle. I think I
Apparently
do.
compensating.
That's no. Roland's is both taller and both 1.5 liters. Oh, equal in volume. My physics teacher would be very happy. Anyway, so this is a very special episode because coming up on the line in a few moments, we have Mr. Evan Carmichael on the podcast. And so, although he was on episode, I think 5 of the podcast about a year ago, where we talked about one word. Since then, Leah has made lots and lots of jokes and comments and all kinds of things about
Are you
Evan.
going to throw her under the bus? You should.
I might. We'll see what happens.
I don't make jokes about Evan. I make jokes about your obsession
And then she's going to throw me under the bus. I know
with
her.
your friendship with Evan. It's very specific. It's,
Have you
guys,
been
guess
tanning,
what?
Leah?
I got a letter from Evan. We're like, cool.
Are you being tanning?
Am I tanning? No.
No,
Tan.
she's just blushing because it's so hot in here.
I'm just hot all the time now.
Yeah. No, you look tan. That's fine.
Anyway,
you were hanging out yesterday.
guys, I was in the process of
Been tan.
introducing the topic. So the topic today is we're going to talk about risk because it's something that's come up in the company for us. But before we get into all of that stuff, before we get Evan on, let me just introduce anyone who doesn't know Evan Carmichael. He is a writer. He's a speaker. He is a YouTuber. His mission is to be able to help impact, change the lives, inspire 1 billion entrepreneurs. I think. Maybe it's 100 million. We'll have to confirm. It's a lot. It's a lot of entrepreneurs regardless. And so I've known Evan for close to 10 years. He's I connected with him through Mastermind Peer Mentoring, which we talk about with Evan in episode 5. We talk about with Warren Coughlin. We talked to him back in October or September, whenever we spoke with Warren. We talk about peer mentoring a lot, but I want to bring Evan on the podcast because I want to talk about risk because it's something that's come top of mind for us here at the company. We've been looking at understanding why we make the decisions we make as business owners, as creatives, understanding what is risk that is healthy risk versus unhealthy risk, how to develop kind of risk profiles and set risk profiles for what you're doing so that way you can take comfort that the decisions you're making are not necessarily free of risk, but just smart decisions. People often say about entrepreneurs that we're risk takers. You started a business, you must be a risk taker. I don't think most entrepreneurs are risk takers. I think they're pretty good at calculating risk. I think they have a comfort zone with taking limited amount of risk. But I don't think we actually think of ourselves as risk takers because I don't think most of us think of what we're doing as risky. I think we think of it as we could just do it better. Maybe we're just foolish because we think we can do it better than other people. Maybe we think it's not that hard. I don't think we sit there and go I think I'm a pretty risk-adverse person, actually. I'm a pretty conservative, risk-adverse person.
Way too conservative.
And yet, we're running a business. I still hire people. I still take opportunities. Thanks. Thanks, Roland. Gosh, you wonder why I could talk to Evan so much? Every time I talk to Evan, he builds me up. He challenges me to think a new way. He tells me the next steps that we should take in our career and our life.
It's like
he inspires me to be a better person. He had me at hello.
Yeah.
So it was like having a shot of espresso.
Yes, which you like to also make fun of, I know. But yeah, I listened to it this morning. I wake up every morning.
That's the song? I wake up every morning?
Wake up every morning.
And listen to Evan.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome.
How much was the scanner? Seriously, are you taking my budget to buy scanners?
We don't have any budget right now. We are on a spending freeze, Roland.
I can see that.
I bought a new scanner, guys. This is big news. So we used to scan legal documents on a flatbed scanner, 1 page at a time. And our service agreements and our NDAs and our contracts are 8, 11, 19, 20 pages. And then yesterday I had I mean, we've been doing pretty good in sales lately. So I mean,
We haven't delivered
I'm not
anything, so
bragging
we
anything,
haven't done anything.
But I had 6 contracts to sign yesterday, and each one was over 10 pages. And I was like, forget this. I've been waiting 2 years to go buy one of those really fast scanners.
I've been waiting 5 years to get one of those really nice cameras, so I can produce the work.
Well, I don't think you're not in charge.
Yeah,
So?
you didn't take any risk to
Yeah.
start a company.
So Mark took the risk
But
and
but
bought
you
the
did
scanner.
you did invest.
Yeah, you're supposed to be on my side here, not against me.
You did invest in equipment, so why don't you get out your HPX 170 and your Red Rock?
Can you repeat that to the audience, because they don't might not even know what you're talking about.
What, a Red Rock?
Yes,
An
And
HPX
170.
An HPX 170?
They're probably googling it right now.
An HPX, a
170?
Panasonic HPX. Used to record to P2 cards. The
Expensive
future is in
media.
P2 cards, guys.
32 gig was like $1,700.
Yeah, by the time we got into them, we got the 64s, and they were like $1,200 each.
Right.
And we got 6 of them. Do you remember that? Do you remember that fun day when
Awesome.
when we bought 3 HPXs?
You couldn't go to bed to dump footage because you gotta wait for the thing to capture it.
Yeah, we
Oh,
got 3
gosh.
HPXs, 6 P2 cards, 3 tripods, and 2 card readers. For the steal of a deal, it was $37,000.
But we returned one of the card readers and
We
got the
did.
money back. So
Yeah,
where's that money? It could be invested in something else right now.
I think we've already. I think that was many years ago. That ship has sailed, as they say. But anyway, let's go ahead and with all of that update out of the way, with the Evan Carmichael introduction, with the Roland getting here late, with the why we got a scanner update.
Well, no, he actually asked you how much it was.
Yeah, you haven't answered that
Let's
question.
move on to our conversation with Evan Carmichael.
Was this over $200? Gonna be very mad. What? Oh.
Listen, Evan, thanks so much for joining us on our podcast. I really appreciate you making the time available. And for everyone who's listening on the Not So Corporate podcast, Evan is also live Google hanging out with us. So we got Evan and his whole crew, his whole audience, his whole Believe Nation. Welcome all.
That's right, man. I love it.
So I wanted to bring you on to talk about risk because, we've known each other for close to a decade, and you've been someone in my life as an entrepreneur who's really pushed me to take things to the next level, to change things. I'm not sure how much Roland and Leah are going to jump in on this conversation because
I'm jumping in right now.
I'm going to be honest with you. You were on with us in May for episode 5 where we talked about one word, and since then, anytime I mention you, they make fun of me. They make fun of me for
That's
Bringing
Leah.
you up every single episode, every single week.
That's not the usual impact I have, guys. I'm going to be honest.
It's not you. It's that he'll be like,
I'm not feeling the love.
he's like, I have this friend, and we're like, is it Evan? And it's always Evan. So
Well-
he could just say Evan.
Evan.
But he's like,
I have a friend.
I have
a
this
friend. who- yeah.
We've been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
We're like,
You should just say he's Evan.
Anyway,
Yeah.
to get to the point about risk, though, and to get the topic of it, as you know, we've had a lot of change in our business over the last 6 months to a year. And about a month ago, I made a major business change where I decided to restructure part of the business. And so I actually sat down and thought to myself, if I got to make this big move, if I got to do something that is something that I'm not emotionally comfortable with, I have no experience with in business, I don't know what's ahead of me. Like, I know that I think it's a smart move, but oh gosh, it's so much more comfortable to just stay the way I'm going, stay the course I'm going. It's more comfortable. It seems less risky. And so I started doing a lot of research on just how someone decide, like how we perceive risk, how we associate risk profiles, how we as people try to stay within our comfort zone. And so I wanted to talk this out on the podcast, and I thought, well, who is someone who I know has taken what I think to be the biggest risks in their business as well over the years? I mean, when we first met, you were running a publishing type company where you had a blog and a website that would help entrepreneurs and help connect people with articles. And then a few years ago, you were like, I'm shutting it down and I'm completely going a different direction and rebuilding who I am. And I'm like, wow, that was like a huge risk. But to you, it never seemed to slow you down or hold you back. So in your own life, in the advice you give and the people you talk to, I just want to spend a bit of time trying to break this myth because I'm out on the other side now. I'm only 6 weeks out of making a big change. But I feel like a little bit more comfortable with risk now that I understand kind of the mechanics of it. All that said, are you comfortable sharing the big changes you've taken in your life and how you like emotionally and kind of rationally become comfortable with these huge risks?
It's interesting because I don't actually see them as huge risks. Maybe that's just me executing instead of what outsiders see. I think the biggest risk that I ever took that really was like the stomach, the knots in my stomach, and like, I don't know if I should do this or not, was when I was in university and I had the opportunity to join my first company, the startup company, and it wasn't making a lot of money. And I had opportunities to work at the banking job that I thought I always wanted. You know, my high school yearbook said I was going to be a VP at a bank in 10 years. And I had that dream job kind of lined up for me, and 80 to 100,000 starting salary, and traveled around the world. And, you know, they flew me to New York and put me up in the Waldorf Astoria for the first interview, and kind of really pushing me hardcore to recruit me for the job that I thought I always wanted. And then I had this opportunity to join this startup company that was in scientific software, and science was my worst subject, and I knew nothing about software. And something just drew me to this opportunity, but it was not the smart thing to do, you know, quotations. It was by far the riskier thing to do, at least in my head at the time. And what helped me through that was just understanding that I didn't want to live with regret. And I think that thought process helps me whenever there's something that's kind of risky ahead of me. I look to my life, you know, 90 years old, looking back, and would I regret not doing this thing? And if it's yes, then I have to do it. And that doesn't make the fear go away. It just makes the fear a lot lower, because there's this new pain. The pain of missing out is greater than the pain of the fear of doing it. And so that was the biggest thing, where all my friends thought I should go take the job. And I was really struggling and questioning myself. And then when I started that company, I wasn't successful. I was making $300 a month, and I was too ashamed and embarrassed to tell my friends that I wasn't doing well. And they asked me, how are you doing? It's like, yeah, things are great, and landing new deals. Like, I'm the one supposed to be living the entrepreneur lifestyle. Meanwhile, I was really struggling, and I thought I made a huge mistake. And I've never felt so worthless in my life than when I first started my business and I turned down those jobs. Getting a little emotional thinking back to that. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that.
Sorry, you're the one who went there. I just asked the question.
To the hard days. You're the conduit of pain.
Oh, thanks. Is that my nickname? The conduit of pain.
Here.
Yeah, Roland thinks so. Here in the company.
The team agrees.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, Mark is a great guy, and if I said that, my channel will freak out on me because they love you so much. So I got to be careful. Yeah, I think ever since then, I you know, and it did end up working out. So, I mean, I had a happy story coming out of it. But ever since then, I've always used, when I wanted to do something and I was afraid of it, it's thinking, am I going to regret this? Like, if I don't take my shot, if I don't try right now, am I going to regret this? And if it's yes, then I have to go out and do it. And so a lot of the expansions, I guess, that you've seen as you've known me in the past decade, those are just me being curious about things. I run tons of different experiments all the time, tons. And most of them don't go anywhere. Most of them never get off the ground, either because they weren't good ideas, nobody cared about them, or I scratched the itch and that's it. You know, I don't want to spend the next 10 years of my life doing this. You know, I tried it, cool, I'm done, and I'm moving on to something else. And the ones that I've stuck with, like my YouTube channel, moving from being a publishing house to going all in on YouTube, just came from me starting on YouTube and trying on YouTube. And you, like Mark, was instrumental in me getting started and being part of my first videos. And so I've just constantly evolved my business around things that I've been curious about. And I think the bigger mistake that entrepreneurs make, and I get people in general, but entrepreneurs is my audience, you get comfortable, and when you first start in something, you're learning and you're growing and you're developing yourself, and then you hit a wall where you stop learning, and it may be because you're not interested in it anymore, and you just evolve as a human being. And if your career and your business doesn't evolve with you, you'll get increasingly frustrated. And that's why most people hate the jobs that they go to. Like 90% of people wake up and drive to a job that they hate every single day. And that is insanely risky to me. Like, not being able to follow something that you are passionate about is the greatest risk of all in my mind. Where betting on yourself to do something amazing I see as being far less risky.
Yeah, but in business, there are things you can control and things you can't control. There are market condition changes, and you could have your whole sales related on crazy this. Think about your entire lead generation process being reliant on Google, and then Google rewriting their algorithm, and you losing 60% of your business, like what happened to us 3 years ago. And so there are all these things that happen, and sometimes you can make just little tweaks, little pivots, little changes to stay up with them. And I don't think anyone would consider those risky, because you're just hungry, you're feisty, you're scrappy, you're just trying to stay alive. And then I guess where we were, over the last few months and what I've recently worked through are these big proactive, let's say that you want to leave your job to start a new company. That is a big life. That's not the natural progression. That's not you saying, well, I'm going to start slow. I'm going to start part-time. I'm going to prove. I'm going to test. It's going to work. And then I'm going to go out there. Like when I started my company, I quit my job. And my daughter was 3 months old, and my wife was at home with her with no other source of income. And I went, this is working or not working? And so people were like, wow, that's really risky. And I was like, was it? I mean, I guess it was. But there are these big choices we have to make proactively that you have to make to either be protective of what you have or to take the next step or the next leap. And I think we're fearful of the risk of the unknown. How do you deal with that?
You just start smaller.
Start smaller?
Yeah, you start smaller. You
got to start big.
No, but it's not, you don't stay small. You have a big dream. But this is your dream. I want to be up here and I'm down here, and this is some huge scary thing. I have to jump up the cliff. I'm never going to do it. And those are the people who never start a company, who are always too fearful, and who stay on the corporate track. And those are the guys who live with regret for the rest of their lives. Where you could get to here, right? That's easier. And then you get to here, and then you get to here, and you climb your way up. I'm not a fan, and there's different schools of thoughts, but I'm not a fan of the guys who say burn the bridges, quit your job, and go all in on your business, and it's the only way to make it work out. I think most people who do that end up burning through their savings in 3 months and end up going back and getting the job. I think the better way to do it is start a business on the side. Start small, moonlight, work at a job where you're going to learn the skills to make you a better entrepreneur. Work for somebody who has, the ideal company that you want to build in 3 years, who has 10 employees or less, and is somebody who you really look up to, and learn from them and be a sponge and get paid to make mistakes and get paid to make contacts and get paid to understand how your industry works, and start your business on the side. Or if you're already in a business, you want to do something else, start that thing on the side. Like, you have lots of hours after office hours close to start pursuing the things that you're really passionate about. And then if you can turn that into a full-time income, not like living luxury, not buying Ferraris or anything, but paying the internet bills and then the food bills. Internet's more important than food.
I think it depends on where you live.
Then you can quit and go all in on your business. So starting small doesn't mean you stay small. You start small, you build it up, see if you get traction, see if you like it. Like, a lot of people start it and then they hate it, and then you've burned your bridges. Like, see if you actually like doing this thing or not, right? How do you actually know? It's like you look at a girl and you think, oh, she's going to be my perfect wife. Well, how do you know until you start dating and, you start getting to know her better, right? It can look great on paper, be great in your mind, but until you actually start doing it, you don't know if you're going to fall in love with it or not. So don't make it out to be this big, huge risk. Just start small and test and see if it's for you.
I haven't grown my business that way. I quit my job and I started my company with no income. And then 5 months later, I had almost no money left. And I went, this is it. I got to make it work. And then I figured out how to make it work. And then 3 years later, the recession hit, or 2 years later, and I burned it through all my cash. And I went, should I fold in? No, I'm going to give it one more kick of the can. And I took a big risk and took a loan and hired a salesperson. And then I built that up and I took risk and I hired up staff. And then, recently we're shifting the business a bit and we're proactively making changes. Like, every step I go with, what I do is I look forward and I say, okay, if this is where the market's going in 3 years or 5 years, and it's expensive to be ahead of the curve, but it's worse to be behind it. if this is what's happening, if this is what the clients are saying, if this is where the market's going, if these are the conditions that are changing, I have no choice but to change. So I might as well change now and get comfortable with it and get ahead of it. So I don't even feel like I have control over the changes I make. I feel like I have to do it. But it's still risky. It's still scary. It's still all those things. But I don't know. Maybe I should have done it the way you said. We still started small. We still started really, really small. Everything has to start small, and you got to mature and get better and get stronger and what have you. But I think I've just made bigger swings than that, I guess. I don't know. You told me that. You told me not to. You told me not to take on the loan, not to hire a salesperson, not to do all of those other things many, many years ago. And I was like, I'll go ahead and do it anyway.
Yeah, and it worked out. Like, it worked out for you, which is great. But I remember that conversation in my office. I was saying, don't hire the sales guy. Because I was concerned that you would blow through the money, not see results, and end up having to go back and get a job. And it happens to a lot of entrepreneurs. Like, they take out a loan, and then their thing doesn't work out, and then for the rest of their lives, they're paying back this third mortgage on their house because they wanted to start a t-shirt business, and they needed to buy 10,000 units of this t-shirt to get the price breaks they wanted, and they sold 4. And you have 9,996 t-shirts sitting in your garage. That's a lot of businesses. And it kills me to see it. And a lot of people don't have the strength or courage to then start up and do it again. Like, you got screwed over the first time. You took your big bet, you lost. It takes a lot of guts to not be forever scarred by that.
I think it depends also if you have your loved ones with you though too, right? Like, like if I wanted to make a big change, my wife would kind of be like, "Listen, I let you make a big change 10 years ago. like I don't know if you get another credit to take another swing at this with something else." So I think you also have your loved ones and your other people who, they're not necessarily the little man, but you kind of cashed in your goodwill chips on the first swing, and maybe they won't support you on the second.
No, but they had to be there for the whole long run. They have to be there.
Do they? They should. I think
the way I feel and the way it is with my relationship, we're there for each other. Whatever happens, we bounce off each other ideas. We talk, but at the end of the day, it's the two of us versus the world, and that's it.
A business puts an insane amount of stress on a relationship. Money is one of the biggest reasons why people break up. And if you are, bleeding money and you can't sustain your lifestyle, it's not that it can't work out. It just puts a lot of stress, and that can push a lot of couples over the edge. And so if you found that person that you can get through everything with, that's awesome. A lot of people have great relationships, but they just can't sustain it through it. And if they've gone through it once, to Mark's point, maybe they don't want to go through it again. So.
And now you have more people to support. Now you have 5 people you're supporting, right?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, and a cat too.
And a cat.
So. Where's the 5? Wait a minute.
My cat has kidney issues apparently.
There's sometimes
No.
That'd be 5 people.
That's so
well,
sad.
there's my wife and my 4 children.
Oh, so you said 5
in
addition to your wife. I'm like, what? There's something I don't know.
Yeah, no. It's 4 kids. 4 kids.
Mark's secret child.
4 kids. Thank you very much. But so I'll run this by. This is not a question. This is just something that I've been thinking about and I read about too, which helped comfort me in this time of big change and big risk. And that was that a lot of us, when we have to make a change, we go, okay, so let's say we need to hire someone new, right? We need to hire someone new. We go, okay, I need to hire this new person. Oh gosh, what could go wrong if I hire this new person? If I hire this person, what's the worst case scenario? And then you think about all the things that can go wrong, and then maybe the slight chance it'll go right, and you associate a risk profile with that. You say, I'm comfortable with this risk, or I'm not comfortable with this risk. And then we go on our merry way and we make the decision. But what I learned, and why I've been a little bit more proactive recently, is what we don't do is associate risk profiles with not changing. We don't go, hey, things are going great right now. Wait, what is the risk associated with not keeping up, with not R&D, with not hiring, with not changing, with not staying on top of it? And I never did it before. I never did it up until 6 weeks ago, where I really sat down and said, okay, I can see all the risks associated with change, but what are the risks associated with not changing, with staying still? And when I started to look at it in that way, I went, as uncomfortable and as emotionally against this decision I am, I have to because in my business, a creative, service-driven business in an extremely competitive market, the risk of not changing is huge. it's really huge. And I'm almost a decade into this, and I had never considered it. I don't have a question for you. What are your thoughts on that, though?
It's interesting. I am not the numbers guy. I don't make decisions based on numbers. I don't really make a lot of decisions based on where the industry is going or what the trends are. For me, it's if I am excited about something, I am going to will it into existence, and I will find a way to make it happen. And it's always worked out for me. I think a lot of people look at, Inc. magazine will put out the 100 hottest startups to create this summer. And, I could try some of them, but it's not going to work for me because I'm not passionate about those things. Where I think the greater risk, if we're talking about the theme of risk, is if I start to lose passion for something, if I start to lose excitement for something, if I'm not creative anymore about the thing I'm working on, then I need to get rid of it. I need to it's either been built up to the point where I can hire a team. And that's what I did with my publishing company. I didn't get rid of it. I just brought a team on to manage it and run it. And then I went off to do something else. Or if it's not at that point yet, then you kill it. Like if you cannot sustain somebody coming on and being a part of it and affording their salary and you making some money off of it, then you move on to something else.
I think that's a great decision-making kind of framework if you're thinking about your own day-to-day and your own operations and your own role. But when you have a larger company, if you have 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 staff and you have different levels of hierarchy or whatever, and you're in control of a larger, I mean, not a huge organization, but a larger kind of entrepreneurial organization, you have to like the ship is a little bit harder to move than when it's you and two other people or you or yourself and you're trying to decide like what you're passionate about each day. You have to make decisions that affect others. I think the key thing there
is constantly see. A lot of people do this, like, oh, we're doing this. Okay, we're in our box. Great, we're in our box. It's working. Okay, the box isn't working anymore. It's not working as much, and it starts getting worse and worse and worse. Meanwhile, you've done zero innovation and changing in what you're doing, and then it forces you to become this big new thing and take this big painful leap because you've invested so much in Old Corp and the team and everything else that's been a part of it. Where really what your business should be is a constant evolution, constantly trying new things so you don't build up decades of baggage underneath you that you now painfully have to shed. So it's always trying something new, right? Your team should be used to trying new things. You should bring people on and test their positions, putting them in something new. They should be evolving as you evolve your company so it doesn't become this huge big shift because you notice, oh crap, I've been doing the wrong thing for too long.
So I get following your passion. Listen, I'm a big believer in taking what you say and then respinning it as my own stuff. I mean, it's fantastic. It makes me sound a lot smarter. But this is why I talk about you on every podcast because I usually am crediting you actually. But
the not so Evan podcast.
the almost Evan podcast.
But usually starts with I have a friend.
Yes. We've already established that. So I have this friend who I'll just mention his name's Evan Carmichael. But no, anyway. I've totally, drunk the Kool-Aid in terms of, don't spend the time working on your weaknesses, lean into your passions, lean into your strengths. Why would you work to overcome those things and all that stuff? And that's fine.
You say it with such energy there, Mark. That was amazing.
Are you sure you drank the Kool-Aid? Because you didn't really think excited about it.
There was sounds like
gin,
you had a sip.
There was gin in the Kool-Aid.
I think you were trying just to say that to impress your friend.
Oh gosh! Now you guys are gonna make. You guys are looking at. They're calling me out.
Picking on Mark. This is great. Yeah. Last time they weren't doing this.
Last time they weren't on with us. It was just you and me. I was smart enough not to invite them on.
Have you evolved the show? Have you taken some new risks and tried new things to make it better?
We have.
That's crazy.
We have. I'm not saying. I think I'm risk adverse, but when I look at what other people do, what other people put up with, when I hear that they're not happy with their job, when I have arguments with people at parties where I'm like, how can you go to work and not love what you do? How can you be on a Sunday night? How can you say to yourself, I got to go to work tomorrow? I don't want to hear that. I say that to the staff. It's like if something's making you say, I got to go to work tomorrow on a Sunday night, tell me what that is. If I can fix it, I want it fixed. I want Monday mornings to be something where you're like excited to come into work.
We're going to have to talk about this.
Yeah, have you?
Are there stuff?
I have never heard you say that.
I have said that on one-on-ones. Maybe not with you because you've been on mat leave a lot. a lot.
Fair
I'm
enough.
really glad we're capturing this special moment.
But this is what I want. I want people who want to come into work, and I want it to be a great place of passion and all that stuff, and it's fine.
You've been on mat leave a lot.
You have been on mat leave a lot, Leah. Let me tell you.
Just once.
Are we sure we want to say that live?
For all of our non-Canadian listeners and viewers, we get a year of mat leave up here. So Leah was on mat leave for a year and then came back. And how long have you been back for?
8 months.
8 months, and she's going on mat leave for another year. So risk with having to restaff people who are producers of podcasts and stuff. But anyway, so in your business though, again, you mentioned, I think you kind of glossed over, if I can call you back to the time where you were running the publishing business, you were running that. It was a major source of income for you. You poured yourself into it, like you're pouring yourself into YouTube and you're writing your book and speaking and everything you do. Like, as for anyone who's watching, as obsessive as Evan is in like making things happen at the salsa place or anything else, like he has always been this way. But you literally put that to bed. You're like one day you're like, no, we're not doing that. I'm now going all in over here. And then within a few weeks or a month, it was like, ta-da, the new you. You didn't see any risk in that? You didn't. There was no fear. There was no fear in this. There was no.
I am confident that if I get behind something, I can turn it into something. And even when it doesn't get turned into something, I can put blinders on and just go for the next thing. I don't know, man. It might be just blind optimism as an entrepreneur or just supreme confidence in myself. But when I've decided that I'm going to do something, I just go out and do it until I don't want to do it anymore. And then I go do something else.
Okay. So we were talking about this in the opening of the podcast. Sorry, your number is 1 billion entrepreneurs or 100 million? I couldn't recall. 1 billion. Yes. 1 billion entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is huge. Have you rationalized? Is that like individual 1 billion individual people, or have you broken that down into like contacts or impressions or something like that?
Here's the thing. I'm not so attached to the outcome. I'm never attached to the outcome. I'm attached to the process. And what it makes me do is think about, are the activities that I'm spending my time on congruent with me having a major impact on the world? So it means that I say no to a lot of things, right? Like a lot of people want to do an interview, right? For maybe someone's interviewing for their blog, but maybe their blog isn't that big. Do I want to spend the time interviewing someone who I'm not going to reach a lot of people? So let's turn it into a YouTube Hangout, right? And so I can send more messages to my audience. I can introduce that person to my audience, like doing the book. If the book is not a huge book, then it's a failure for me, right? I will not be happy with it. I don't want to do small projects. I want to do the things that will have a major impact on this planet. That's what inspires me. And so I don't care about hitting the billion as much. It's not like, oh, I've hit the billion. Okay, now I need a new goal. What's next?
100 billion.
Right. The entire population. It's the process. I think people get too addicted to making the $1 million, right? It's the process. It's the game that is interesting, that drives me much more than the result or the outcome.
So then how do you keep score? Because I know you're competitive.
I have smaller goals. I mean, so I look at my YouTube channel. I want it to be the number one person on my agency. I have an agent in New York. There was another guy who was ahead of me on YouTube. I said, I'm going to beat that guy. And I beat that guy. And now, I have the most popular YouTube channel for entrepreneurs. We have 300,000 subscribers and 30-something million views on the channel. And any other kind of entrepreneur-focused channel, nobody's ahead of me. Some are a little close, but I'm growing faster than they are. So now it's okay. What's next? Next, I want to hit 1 million subscribers. And so those are nice goals. Like, they're motivating. Okay, what do I need to do to get to 1 million subscribers? How do I keep growing the channel? What do I work on? How do I improve myself? But you need to understand that it's not just a numbers game, because to do the things that get to 1 million subscribers, I'll often hold myself back. I'll hold my channel back. As an example, I have the Life with Evan series on my channel. It's a personal series. It's every week. It's me going to Disney World with friends and my son. When I post Life with Evan videos, I lose subscribers. It doesn't gain anything. I lose subscribers. But I do it because it builds a closer connection for the people who do watch between me and them. The Espresso series that I start every morning, every day you start with an Espresso video. When I go off on adding comments on it, I was losing some subscribers. And we talked about this in person, you and I, Mark, but the Espresso series wasn't doing as well as I thought it would. I was losing some subscribers on some of my Espresso series. And that was a shock to me because it's supposed to be something that would drive a lot of attention and awareness. And so those clips are, you see a clip from Steve Jobs talking about something and then I comment on it. And it could have been easy, and I tested it, just to remove myself and just show the clip. And if I was just chasing the 1 million subscribers, just chasing that goal, then that would have worked. But you lose the soul. That wasn't interesting for me. I wanted to work on myself. And so the challenge became, okay, I need to get myself to the point where if somebody watched a Steve Jobs video and then they saw me, they would not tune out when I came on. That's a huge, insane, maybe not possible challenge, but one that I'm excited by. But it's completely against hitting the 1 million subscribers, at least in the short term. If I cut myself out, I would get there faster. So it's not just about hitting the numbers. And I think if you just get sucked into hitting the numbers and lose the soul of your business, then that ends up being the long-term most riskiest thing that you can do.
So I'm going to switch the direction towards fears in a second. But before I do, I just have to say, I watched yesterday evening your Madrid library keynote. Okay. So I watched the whole thing. The last time I saw you speak in public, it was to a much smaller crowd, and you didn't want to stand up there. You had a piece of paper with someone's bio, and you just kind of read it in like kind of a nervous, shy way many, many years ago. I couldn't believe that I was watching you up there on that video because you were amazing. So is that just because you've just worked at it? Is it like you were like I've known you for a long time. I was like, wow, like I was impressed with your content and your keynote and your passion and your stage delivery and everything. I was like, I didn't know this side of you.
I'm pissed because I hate that video.
You hate it?
I feel like I under-delivered on that video. I feel like with the time and effort and practice, I under-delivered.
Really?
Yeah. And for me, I don't take a lot of, especially overseas stuff, because it takes away a lot of time away from me doing what I'm doing here. That's a week out of my life to go to do one speech to, that was a group of librarians. And if I did not move people in there, then that would be an insane waste of my time. I don't care about, yeah, sure, I got paid. I got paid to be there. My hotel and flight, everything was paid for. But I'm not motivated by money. I'm motivated by impact. And if I didn't have an insane impact there, then it was a failure. And it was okay. But I could have been watching that back like, man, I thought I was better. I felt better on stage, but it wasn't good enough. And so I've come a long way. Yes, great. Like I'm not hating on myself. It was pretty good. People loved it afterwards. They're talking to me. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. The audience enjoyed it. But it's not to where I know I can be, and that pisses me off. And it comes from practice. Like I've done 3,000 videos. I've done tons of interviews. I care less about what people think. I'm more confident in myself. I've done it over and over and over and over again, and each time I do it, I get better. So, I appreciate the warm sentiments, and it's a pretty good video, but I'm pissed because I know I could do way better. And that fuels me to want to do better the next time.
Well, I have to say, as a video company, the video was kind of so-so and mediocre, but your delivery was fantastic, is where I'm going with it. Anyway, so switching gears a bit to fears. I think that the reason, obviously fear motivates and controls a lot of us in terms of what we do and don't do and why we would move forward or wouldn't. I think risk naturally, it's fear that makes us think that risk is risky versus not risky. Because as much as you might want to rationalize things to yourself or use numbers or use logic, at the end of the day, you're going to follow your heart. And if you're fearful to take a step or do something, then that will control you. What advice do you give for us business owners, for us creatives, for us entrepreneurs in terms of just being able to be aware of fear, manage fear, push through it without being foolish?
Yeah, I think the people who say, don't be afraid, don't know what they're talking about. I think fear is normal. I think it's more feel the fear and do it anyway. I think the biggest restriction on your human potential is your limiting personal beliefs, which are driven a lot in fear. Like, I don't deserve this. Who am I to be able to do this? And most of it is so subconscious that you just keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. You keep saying no to the right potential opportunities because those fears and those limiting personal beliefs keep coming back. You keep playing the same record and you don't have the awareness. Like you hit the nail on the head by saying that key word. The first step is understanding that you're holding yourself back in this certain area. For me, it was, I have a need to feel like, I hate wasting people's time. I have a need to feel valuable. I want to feel like when I leave a meeting with somebody that I've helped them, right? It's from my need to have impact. And so the negative side is I might hold myself back, and I used to hold myself back a lot from meeting people because I was worried that I wouldn't be able to provide them with value. And so I always end up over-delivering. That's the positive side, but it's out of a fear that I won't be helpful enough to people. And I would get calls to, go to speak at events, and I would say yes. And then the day before, I would secretly hope that they would cancel on me because I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to give them value. Even though I know that I always give value and people always leave, even like meetings with entrepreneurs who are just at their startup stage, and I know I can help them, I would feel like, I hope they cancel, or I'm feeling a little sick, maybe I should cancel on them, because I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to help them. But I always did, I always helped them. I've never had I don't know where it came from, because I've never had a situation where I've been in a meeting with somebody or a presentation and didn't get value from it. But it's just pushing through that. It's recognizing that, hey, if I don't go take that meeting, I don't go do that presentation, then I'm never going to get to where I want to be. So it's feeling the fear, understanding it, acknowledging it, not letting it just be in my subconscious that keeps holding me back, and doing it anyway, push through the fear, do it anyway.
You said something once to me, and it was in passing, and it stuck with me. And I try to do this before every meeting, before every call now, because fear controls a lot of my decisions as well. And I've written up on my board, is fear holding
everybody,
you back?
Mark? It's not just you. Everybody.
No.
Everybody's controlled by fear.
Okay, and that's fair. I just know that I am of the people I talk to, I am abnormally fearful. like I'm like, oh, we can't do that. And it's like I lack. As much as I might seem bold, I just know that, and I'm aware of it now, which is great. So I've written on my board, are you acting out of fear? So I can constantly remind myself. But it would be to the point where before I would jump on a sales call with someone, I too would be like, not value driven, but just, what if they ask something of me I don't have an answer for? And it's like, I've been doing this a long time. Like I should trust the system. I should trust that the people would give me a chance to speak or to answer things. But you said something to me once, which I really held on to, and I've even expanded that to everything now. You said it right before like a video, or right before a hangout, or right before a presentation. You have the opportunity as the speaker, as the participator, to change people's lives, to make an impact, to do something big. I take that now to every single interaction. Like before I walk into a meeting with someone where all I'm doing is scoping a project, I go, you know what? If I do this meeting well, if my intentions are pure and we do the best thing for the client, I have the chance to change this company's direction. I have the chance to change this person's career path. Just in this meeting, I can change their lives. And I've taken that, and it's given me the freedom to be able to come in like really swinging hard, because I'm not just going to the 3:30 meeting where I'm going to talk to someone for 45 minutes about tactics and things like that. It's like no, in this meeting, in this hour, I can change this person in this company's very direction in which they're going to go. And I don't know if you ever intended it for me to take it quite that far, but that was something where it's like, I don't have to be fearful because I know that I'm trying to do good things here.
I think to really be yourself is scary. To really bring it, like if you're going out and doing a sales presentation, there's a standard safe way to do it that they would expect, and there's nothing wrong with. It's nobody got fired for buying IBM. It's that mentality. But for you to really win it and for you to have an impact, then you have to be Mark Jager, and you have to be comfortable with them rejecting Mark Jager if they don't like Mark Jager, and hoping that some people do love Mark Jager and everything that he's all about. And so that takes a lot of fear, that fear of being rejected, that fear of not being accepted, to get through. And I'm with you. And I've just gotten more, like the more you do it, it's like any muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets, the less you care. I will give my blunt opinions to a lot of brands that want to work with me, and some of them can't handle it, and some of them don't agree with me. And like, okay, continue to be crappy, go for it. I don't care, right? And I'm not going to work with you, right? And she's like laying out the terms, and the people who like it, who can handle the feedback and the criticism and like the vibe, you're going to get along with those people a lot better. You're going to be able to have that impact that you want a lot more. But it's in every, people are so, I don't want to say fake, but reserved or timid and afraid to be themselves in most interactions, that it holds them back from a truly happy and meaningful life.
We've taken this. You were mentioning.
We're going deep, Mark.
Yeah, I know you were mentioning about stuff, but Roland and I were working on an RFP. So we got an RFP project, a request for proposal, where we knew we were going into a competitive blind pitch session where a company put out to a bunch of companies, hey, we have this need. Let us know how you would handle it. And it was super, super loose. Now, usually they'll give rules like, we want to see this. They didn't do any of that stuff. So we sit down, we're developing creative concepts, we're analyzing the framework, we're sitting down to write this RFP, and it was going to be like 40 pages. And I was like, who wants to read 40 pages? And even in the written word, I feel like you can't capture in all areas the nuance and the passion and you can't speak as quickly to all of the little different points that you can if I was pitching it live. And I was like, oh man, if I was able to go to Montreal or whatever, and if I was able to pitch this live, I know we would kill it. And then we had this like kind of light bulb moment where we're like, well, they didn't say we had to write it out. So we developed PowerPoint slides. We developed all of the reference points that we wanted to do. I sat down here in the podcast area and I presented in audio, and then I handed it to Leah and the team, and they put together a 40-minute video presentation that we sent to them, and we said, here's our submission, right? We wanted to save you having to read 40 pages. Here's our presentation. You either like it or don't like it. This is us. And like we were like, it's not that I didn't believe it was the right thing to do, but it's risky, right? Like you're taking a risk. No one is going to respond to an RFP with a live video presentation, right? Nothing was in writing. We just went in with our intentions and our passion and what we want to do for them, and we didn't spend time going our company structure is this and this is how, we didn't do any of the RFP stuff. We just said, this is what you need to do. This is why we would do it for you, and this is what we want to do. And we ended up winning it. And so someone was like, oh, we should really case study this. It's like, well, we should just do what feel like we just need to do what puts us first. What not our intentions, but if we're not going to win playing the game, we need to change the rules of the game, because they don't even know what they're asking for. We need to just break through the rules and give it to them.
I don't see it as a big risk, because if it was a company that said, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life, who gives us a video submission? These guys are ridiculous. If you went the traditional way to pitch them, probably you wouldn't have won anyway. And even if you did, they'd be the worst client to work with ever, because they don't share the same values as you. And so by being creative, being original, being you guys, you're going to attract clients who appreciate and understand that and are attracted to that. And the worst thing, the riskiest thing you could do is be boring, is be like everybody else, because then they just compete on price and you attract terrible clients.
But it might not be a real risk, but there's still that perceived risk, right? There's still that that's what I'm saying about changing the rules. Rationally we'll sit down and go we know we're not going to win. There's no reason to go with us. But if we step outside, will they penalize us for being too bold? Will they, hold it against us?
But why? Because when you think about it, the system has really created us to think you had to do things one way. This is the right way. And, when I was younger, I used to think that I had to learn to do it the right way. And as I'm getting older, it's there's no such thing as a right way. As long as I'm not hurting anyone or doing anything bad, but it feels right and I'm being honest about it, then that's my way. And some people will like it, and that's what I add to that, to whatever I'm bringing. I come from cinematography. When I was younger, people would question my decisions because that's not what someone would do, or this guy so does it. That's what this way, and I would be, oh yeah, I guess I don't.
We're not
I just said the big word.
We're not supposed to swear on this live.
I'm looking the opposite way, guys.
We have rules written down. We have rules written down that say no swearing.
My apologies to everyone. But anyways, what I was saying, some people would say you don't do it this way, and I would be nervous. You're right, I did it wrong. I screwed up. But then after I realized, like, no, I'm doing it the way that makes sense to me, and I interpret it that way, and I need to offer something new, unique to what I'm doing. If I'm not gonna do it the way Johnny or Sally's gonna do it, then why am I doing it? Let Johnny and Sally do it. And that's something that a lot of people maybe don't realize.
Yeah,
Mark, you asked, do you get penalized for being bold? And yes, some companies will penalize you for being bold. Great. If you are a bold kind of person, you don't want that client. If you have a bold client and you are boring, then you're not going to win that deal. And so, like, it all worked out for you on this one. Video submission, great, you got the deal.
Yeah,
awesome,
earlier
great.
in the week we were bold and we didn't win it.
but that's going to happen too.
Yeah, I know.
But you probably don't want those clients anyway.
Don't worry, they're coming back.
They'll come back. They don't know what they don't know. We got a very lovely apology from the person. So they'll be back, hopefully. Do you have any questions for us, Evan?
Oh, people are watching are asking questions.
Oh, do we want to throw it open? Do we want to throw it open to ask any questions of anyone?
Sure. Dat is asking, what kind of headphone is that? It looks badass. Not mine.
Not yours? Which one? Are you talking about these ones? These
I'm guessing.
are Behringer HPX 200s. These were the cheapest headphones you could buy on Amazon. I think they were like $35 or $40. So you know what? When you want to jump into something, to your point, you said earlier, don't spend a lot of money. Like this may look impressive, but as Roland continuously points out to me, this is the cheapest equipment, and the microphones fall down all the time. So just go cheap. That's my advice.
Only if you tinker with them.
Only if you touch them.
Yeah.
Just
in any way.
Just don't move your head.
Don't touch them.
Don't touch them and don't move
No.
your head, and then you're good.
Yeah.
Jose wants to know, how many months pregnant is she?
Leah, you're 3 weeks away from your due date?
Yeah. So eight and a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really tomorrow.
Leah, she's having her second boy.
Yep. Yeah. I feel like 12 months pregnant at this point. So.
List Plane is asking, Evan, as a dancer, will you take the risk of dancing in purple on a Prince song tomorrow for International Dance Day?
Oh, Purple Rain.
I
In
will
the
if
rain.
Mark joins me in a purple dance. And we make
Onesie.
it
Purple dance onesie, right?
Where are we going to come up with these?
We're gonna get a
Yeah.
onesie in
Where are
that
we going to
size.
come up with these crushed velvet purple onesies?
You can find them.
All right, I'll leave it to Mark and his great team to figure that out. I'm up for it if Mark is.
I only foxtrot and
Oh,
do,
that'll be great.
I only do.
Freestyle, Mark, freestyle.
Oh, they didn't mean ballroom dancing. Okay.
No, dancing, dancing.
I don't dance. Do I look like I dance?
No.
Listen,
Audience, do I look like the kind of guy who dances?
It'll be the highest rated video on your channel.
Thanks a lot. Look at that nice backhanded compliment.
Could be true.
We're getting more serious. When do you call yourself an entrepreneur?
Ooh, that's an interesting question because I didn't think of myself as an entrepreneur until a few years ago, and I've been doing this almost 10 years. You know, I feel like it's more of, some people say, well, as soon as you start your business, that makes you an entrepreneur, own it, and that's fine. But I think it has to do more with a mindset, an entrepreneur mindset, and it's whenever you want to start calling yourself that, whenever you feel like you're an entrepreneur, in my opinion. But Evan might say something different. He's smiling like he's about to say, curveball.
Curveball answer. No, I don't get attached to labels, man. Call yourself whatever you want. If you feel that you are, people call themselves founders or CEOs or, you know, president and CEO feels too.
Yeah, I go with
to me.
founder, but another good one's principal in if you're in a more creative kind of area. But I go with founder because it just seems less pretentious.
Honestly, like for me, if you have a chance to ask a question, I would ask a more important question. The
Ooh.
label does not matter.
Ooh, you're calling out now.
I'm calling out righteous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know it's a little harsh, but listen, if I had a chance to ask somebody that I really looked up to a question, it better be the best question that I'm really concerned about. And it just speaks to like entrepreneurs focus on the wrong things. The name of your business doesn't matter. The label that you call yourself doesn't matter. Focus on what you're going to do that have an impact. And I want to be a part of conversations. I'm breaking my desk. Those are the conversations I want to be a part of. I still love you, Righteous, but
You know what? He just called you out and talked to you like a loving brother would, right? Family,
yeah, well,
right?
I do that to you all the time, Mark. So
Yeah,
you know how it feels.
Yeah, we've made each other cry. It's not good. It's not pretty.
Melanie, is there a
Should we get into the
routine
details?
to reduce fear to embrace fear? Routine to reduce fear to embrace fear. Routine.
Yeah, I mean, the first step is to be aware of it, right? And it's one of those it's one of those light bulb moments, or like my mom used to say, like someone's gonna slap a 2x4 upside side of your head, like it's one of those moments where you're suddenly so aware, you're so painfully aware, whether it's the way you speak, whether it's your actions, whether it's some way you react with other people or interact. There are these certain life things where suddenly it becomes so clear to you what the issue is, and when that happened to me, it was pointed out, and I just didn't. But one day I was like, oh my goodness, like the truth is that I am afraid of this. I'm afraid of this change. I'm afraid of taking risk. I'm afraid of lack of control. For me, like, I love control. I love what I can know and I can scope and I can plan for. And I was fearful of the unknown, of the lack of control. So first, just being aware of it, because then what you can do is you can kind of call yourself on it, and you can kind of say, you know what? I have all these other safeguards. I have all these other people. I have friends I can call on. I have all these other resources I can leverage if things go sideways. I can apologize to the client. I can say, I'm sorry, it went wrong. Like there's all these things you can do to save yourself. And so there's knowing that, and it's being aware of it. And then the next thing is you just push through. Like you just say, oh, I'm being fearful. I'm afraid to book a meeting with a client for a big thing because it's a big pitch. So I just email the client and go, hey, when are you free next week? And all of a sudden it's out of my hands. It's out in the ether. It's like they go, oh, Tuesday. And you go, oh, okay, great. Tuesday I'll be there. And then you're like, crap. And you're driving there Tuesday and you're like, oh,
no swearing.
You're like, oh no.
Mark. Cow, you guys.
Sorry, we normally bleep all of our swear words because of Tanya.
Potty mouth Phanta Media
because
team.
of Tamara Weeks. Tam pointed out to us we swear a lot, so now we bleep it. But anyway, so you book it. You just book the meeting. I was on this big panel yesterday I was on this panel that I sponsored, which I had no business being on. So I was there with the head of the Heart and Stroke Foundation, the head of Princess Margaret Hospital, which is a big cancer center, the CMO of or the president of Canadian Tire Jumpstart Association, Sun Life Financial, and Bell, our big telecommunications company, the head of their philanthropic division, and then me. This was probably the most nervous and fearful I was. And I even said to the moderator, I was like, listen, don't throw questions at me. Like, these people are amazing. These people are brilliant. And they're talking about strategy at a level that I can't even speak to. I don't think I'm going to add any value. So just don't throw anything to me. I will sit up there very pleasantly, very quietly, and kind of nod along. And it's going to be great. Why? Because these people are...
Somebody throw a mug at Mark right now. Holy cow, dude, that's insane.
Hold on.
Man.
So what did I do, though?
What happened to... I try to go into every conversation like I'm going to make a huge impact here.
Evan, let me finish. This was me going into it, but I couldn't back out, right? I had to be there. I had a spot. So what did I do? I was fearful. I sat down. I was fearful. I looked to the person to my left and my right, and I went, this is happening. I'm sitting in front of 70 people. I'm sitting with these amazing people. Now, am I going to sit here and say nothing because fear is holding me back? Or am I just going to go through with it because what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Right? People are forgiving. People are nice. I was in a friendly room. They weren't the mean press who were trying to tear me down. And you know what? I said my few things, and I got a bit more confidence. I was making points, and people on the panel are nodding along. I was like, oh, they agree with me. Great. and so I went through, and by the end I was like shadow boxing. I was like so pumped to even be a part of it. It turned out to be one of our greatest opportunities from a marketing point of view. The head of one of the big charities gave me her card and said, oh, we need to get together and talk. Suddenly now I'm at their level, which I mean, that's very nice of them, but it was only because for me to deal with my fear, I booked the meeting, and I'm like, I got no choice. It's booked. I go out and I sit down in the chair and I start talking, and I go, I'm doing this now. It's like you just put yourself in the situation where you can't back out, and that's how I get through it.
We're a little over the stop time, so I'll just answer quickly. I agree. Awareness is the first step. 2, usually it's the awareness after, it's, oh, I shouldn't have done that, or I said no because I was afraid. You can really catch it in the moment. It's awareness afterwards. 2 is in catching it in the moment. I'm this is my usual response. This is me being me again. I'm holding myself back. And then 3 is actually pushing through that fear. Okay, I recognize I'm doing this right now. I'm holding myself back right now. I'm not going to do the thing that I always do every time, and I get upset at myself at. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to go for it.
Evan, thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time. To you and all your fans on YouTube and everything, thanks so much for what you do for us and for all of us, really.
Anytime, man. Happy to.
Awesome. Okay, so that was our conversation with Evan Carmichael. If you'd like to know more about Evan, go ahead and look for him on YouTube. His channel's called Modeling the Masters. You can find him on other things as well, but he's not so much on he's not active on too many things. He's on Facebook. I shouldn't say that. He's on Facebook. He's on Twitter. He's all over the place, really. But in terms of if you want to know more about Evan, just go to YouTube and look up Evan Carmichael or Modeling the Masters. And if you want to see the video of us, if you want to see the footage of us having that interview with him, as well as any awkward moment that we would have cut out of this.
What we cut.
Yeah, if you want to see what we cut out of this.
You only swear twice. Pretty good.
What, in terms of the swear words? Yeah. Ooh.
So
anyway.
why couldn't we swear? Why? Because it's live?
Because it's live to his channel, and he doesn't have any swear words on any of his channels. His channel's clean.
Until now.
He likes to clean?
Yeah, anytime anyone swears, they bleep it out. Oh. And most people have the courage or the respect and the wherewithal not to swear and say or or or
we're going to cut all this stuff up. Perfect.
They just know not to say.
Are you sure we're not still live and then hearing all this right now?
I've actually muted his line. So anyway, so that was our conversation. Now that you guys know Evan, now that you've seen Evan, are you going to still make fun of me, or are we good?
100%, even more so. Even more.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's you we're making fun of, not him. It's your behavior. It's my last week. I'm saying whatever.
She's saying all kinds of stuff because it's the last day. She's like, I don't care.
She is so fast and loose. It's just crazy.
Just wait until tomorrow. She's going to be like, yourself, Roland. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's going to be the end of the day, and she's going to be like, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate everything that you've done for me. Louis, you're like a brother to me. Manish, oh, man, I love you, buddy. Thank you so much. Roland, go yourself.
You're my lunch. Here's my lunch.
Wow, that was a lot of bleeps.
There's
you just
so many bleeps.
Anyway, guys, listen, if you have any questions for us, if you have any topics or suggestions,
if you want to come on the podcast,
if you would like to come on the podcast,
the replacement?
We'll talk about that in a future episode.
Is the replacement pregnant too?
Why don't you go ahead and just drop us an email, feedback@notsocorporatepodcast.com. You can reach us on Twitter @PHANTA Media. You can find us YouTube. You may be watching this on YouTube. You can leave a comment on any videos. They come straight to me. Now that Leah's gone, they come directly
right to the boss.
Right to me. Yeah. So anyway, I'll love to see those comments. Or on Twitter. Did I already say Twitter? Or,
I don't know, but
leave us
edit this anyways.
Or leave us an iTunes review. We would love for you to do that.
You do a pickup for this?
Listen, Roland, thanks so much for joining. Roland, thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh yeah, sure, anytime.
Hold on, let me give that to him. Roland, thank you so much for joining us today.
Not a problem.
That's that's that voice that you use for that one thing. I love it when he does that because I just imagine like steam coming out of his ears. But anyway, Leah. The last recording. Yep. This is not a fresh episode, but this is
tomorrow.
This is the last and final recording.
Well, we're not recording a podcast tomorrow.
No,
I thought we were.
What are you talking about? We've done like
a billion.
6 in the last 2 weeks.
I don't know. I was under the impression that we were doing another one, but I guess I was wrong.
Let's do one more tomorrow. Perfect.
Okay, we're going
to do one more tomorrow.
The guest is going to be you.
The guest is going to be Baby Compton.
Oh. He is not very chatty. So.
I just make those in the background.
That's so creepy. That is so creepy and weird.
That is the only thing that you need to add under Roland doing that is like a jewelry box dancer thing. Yeah, like something twinkly but slightly in a minor key.
Yeah.
In a minor key.
And then
it goes weird, and then violin sounds coming. And then a little bit like.
Okay, on that note.
Listen, on that note, guys, thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you next week.
Oh, my goodness.
Dude, I needed this.
My Josh.
I needed this.
Oh, snap.
You're going to have to cut that out.